You are about to embark on the most monumental journey of all archaeological discoveries in this new live series by The God Culture. A 3,000-year gold rush documented so many ways it will make your head spin. The mother lode that would cause the likes of Indiana Jones to salivate. The true land of gold in all of history, which leads to the location of the Garden of Eden and the land of creation. Identifying the rivers from Eden en route. Why is this important? You will never understand geography, history, nor especially Bible prophecy without this restored knowledge of what many will consider the most illustrious realm on earth. Today, we call this the Philippines. Though founded in the Bible, which is the origin of this saga of renown, examine the history, archaeology, geography, science, linguistics, etc., which all converge to reveal what the world knew and somehow misplaced about a century ago. This is a mystery no longer, and now you will know the whereabouts of the lost Isles of Gold. Mabuhay, Philippines! We are back in Davao City in the studio, live. And we wanted to bring you one of the most exciting finds we've gotten so far. The Philippines is not just Ophir, Sheba, Tarshish, as well as the Garden of Eden, but you know where this leads. When you read the words of David, we actually know that the three kings, really six or more, but still, the three kings, from the Orient there's a reason for that song. See, the writer of that song knew that they came from the Far East, from the Philippines. In fact, he wrote another song, and in the other song, he makes it clear that it is not just gold, it's the bright gold of Ophir that the three kings brought to Messiah. So how does this all tie together, and how does history fall? In this segment, we're going to deal with history and archaeology some, and we're going to talk about the three kings. I'll end with that, so we'll get there. This is based on our books, our research that we have published in a full position. Our position is not this video. Our position is not a sentence of this video, and our position is not one word of this video. We will see comments that try to treat all of those that way. We always do. But the reality is, this is based on our books, well-published, our many, many hundreds of videos on the topic. Garden of Eden Revealed, the book of maps, which is out in full color now and available worldwide on Amazon, also on Shopee Philippines. You can find all the links in ophirinstitute.com. Also, we have our original book, The Search for King Solomon's Treasure, which is actually free in ebook, and it's also available in Tagalog, also free in ebook. So you can avail of those books that way, or also on ophirinstitute.com. They're also available internationally. But that is our position, and it is supported by a 300-page source book of history sources. So it is massive. It is proven. It's been it's been almost 8 years now. And in 8 years, we've challenged scholars, we've challenged academics, we've challenged everybody out there. Prove it wrong. We dare you. Prove it wrong. Not a single one of them has even made a minor dent in this full comprehensive position of archaeology, geography, history, science, the Bible, linguistics, everything. It's a very extensive case because the Philippines proves to be Ophir, Tarshish, Sheba, the Garden of Eden, and the land where the three kings came from. Now, you can watch our series, Solomon's Gold series, with millions of views, and it's also out there in Tagalog, which some of those have many hundreds of thousands of views as well. check those out. And that's the deeper case. That's got the data. This is not going to. I'm going to breeze through this today because there's a lot to cover. And we're doing just this one, whether it's half an hour or so, video just on history. And really, it should be hours. So, because there's so much of it. But here's the one big thing. I mean, so far we've gotten this far. And the question is, are we crazy? I mean, are we crazy to say these things? Is it really not well supported? Have we not shown maps? Have we not shown historic evidence? Have we not shown the Bible goes exactly to these positions? Of course we have. But one of the things people don't realize is we're not the only ones. You see, about a year and a half after our position was released on YouTube, Solomon's Gold series, we had a viewer who spoke. He happens to be a Jewish evangelist, especially doing work in the Philippines. His name is Amir Sarfate. And Amir came here in 2018, a year and a half after our videos were released, and he said some amazing things. Check out this footage.
In the Spanish maps that led the explorers to the islands, the name was Ophir. Did you know that? How many of you knew that? The biblical name Ophir appears in Spanish maps describing the Philippines. Ophir. Ophir appears, by the way, both in Genesis, a name of a person, all the way in the books of the prophets, as a place of great source of gold. Wow. Yes. So it starts from there. Also, by the way, both in Isaiah 24 and Isaiah 42, there's a beautiful description of how the name of the Lord will be praised even in the islands. It says...
Now, he goes on to share some scripture, which we've shared, many times. And the reality is, even from folks that traveled with him, and we've heard this firsthand, that most definitely he was watching Solomon's Gold series. He was watching our videos. He doesn't give us credit, but that's okay. It doesn't matter. The point is, he affirms the research. So no, maybe we're not so crazy after all, right? And, here was another one. This is the neatest thing. When we were on Negros, we had done a conference there. And at the end of the conference, this attorney comes up and he says to me, my brother told me about Solomon's Gold series years ago. And as soon as he told me about it, I just cut him off. And I said, no, that's not true. Because if that were true, I would have learned that in seminary. He's a lawyer. He's also a minister, and he's been through seminary. So he's like, I would already know if that was true. There's no way that can be true. So his brother says to him, the airline pilot, he says, well, you're a lawyer, aren't you? And he's like, yeah. So he said, okay, give it its day in court. And you know what? He did. So he went and he watched part one, and he said this, and actually, I wasn't sure where this was headed because he started talking to me in a really angry tone. And he said, I was determined. I was going to prove you wrong. There is no way this is true. So he said, I went and I watched it. And I did what you said. I proved all things. I went, I tested every reference. I tested every scripture, checked your interpretations, everything. And he said, I had no problem with it. You proved it. He said, but then I went to the second video and I knew for sure that we would prove that wrong because you said that Sheba was in the Philippines. And I know it's in Ethiopia. That's what I was taught in seminary. Well, I understand because I was too. However, he then watched it and he realized that that's based on the legend of the queen with the legs and the hoof of a goat, which is an occult tale and complete fiction. And he said, I went through every source, and I couldn't prove you wrong. So I got really angry, and I went to part 3, and I went to part 4, and I just started whipping through, all of these that I could. And he said, I watched through your whole series, and I couldn't prove anything that you were saying to be untrue. He said, it hit me so hard. He said, I not only watched it one time, I think I watched it 50 times. Then I started teaching it. And he said, today, this conference of yours, I funded it. It's like, what? I knew someone had, but I didn't know who, and I didn't know he was the guy. And it turns out it was attorney Lyndon Kana from Negros, and he's no longer with us. He died during the COVID epidemic, but he went around teaching this for the rest of his life, pretty much. He continued to share this all along. So no, we're not alone. There's a lot of people who viewed this, millions, who agree with it, who find the research to be valid, and that's because it is. I can say that with confidence because I know. I know no one's been able to prove it wrong in 8 years. I also know there's data like you're about to see, and this is one of the biggest. In 1663, Father Francisco Colin, a Spanish priest, was writing here in the Philippines. He said, and that this was really so, and that the principal settler of these archipelagos, Philippines, was Tarshish, son of Javan, together with his brothers, as were Ophir and Havilah of India, we see in the 10th chapter of Genesis. This is exactly what we've been sharing with you all along. This is exactly what I've been saying, and it's supported by valid written history. This is not a mystery. It never was. Now, this claim is also supported by the Spanish in 1601. Antonio Galvao said Luzon is Ophir and Tarshish. In 1627, Dominican Gregorio Garcia wrote that Philippines is Ophir and Tarshish. In 1891, the former prime minister, the president basically of the Philippines, Pedro A. Paterno, wrote that the Philippines is Ophir. Yeah, they called him crazy too. But he was right. You see, he was right, and these guys were all right all along. They knew this. They knew this because of the record from Columbus and Magellan especially, which I'm going to share next video. But these things are not mysteries at all. In 1519 or so, covered this before, the Spanish released document number 98. Spanish government document, certified, authenticated by the Spanish government, and it was basically a map to Ophir and Tarshish in the Philippines. This was not a question to them. They knew exactly where they were going. They knew they were not Tarshish in Spain, and they knew that all of these things that we're hearing today are nonsense, as they are. We showed you the GMA mapping from the interview that they did with Dan Fernandez, but it's not a perfect mapping, but definitely this is where they ended up. Ophir and Tarshish was the Philippines. 1492, there is a map that we'll cover. Actually, I think we've already covered it, but we'll cover it in more detail with Columbus and Magellan. And basically, it's showing on the map that Christ is Luzon Island, Philippines. Argyle is Mindanao, Philippines. This is Ophir and Tarshish of the Bible. This is the land of gold. This is the land of silver. It's always been there. And this is the dynamic. Ophir is Luzon. Visayas is Sheba. And Mindanao is Tarshish. You see? The three, right? Three. So why is it the three kings? Same dynamic, and we're going to get there. You wait. Okay, so here's some written history, documented history, really of the Filipino as three classes of folks. The upper class here, this is to the right, we use the illustrations from the Boxer Codex. These were drawn in 1590 or so by the Spanish when they came. This is what Filipinos look like. Look at all that gold. Do you see all of that gold? Where in the world did that come from? Are they just drawing fiction? No, because these pieces are found in archaeology. And this is proven fact in history all along, in maps all along. It's really not a question. And the academics that try to say, nuh-uh, well, see, they fail to deal with these kinds of things. And they need to, because if they can't overcome it, this is truth, folks. Now, the upper class were described in this response. This is a letter first from Fray Rada. And Fray Rada had attacked Filipinos. He said they were savages. They were barbarians. They didn't have manners. Right. Have you met a Filipino? That we already know is a lie, because Filipinos have the most manners of probably any culture on earth. So the guy was a liar, and he was called out by the captain generals of Spain who were in the Philippines, like Guido de Lavezaris, who led them. And in 1574, he wrote a letter from him and all the captain generals together, responding to this Fray Rata. And here's what he said. There are some chiefs in this island who have on their persons 10 or 12,000 ducats worth of gold in jewels. Now, that may not sound like much. And then again, it might, but you don't know, right? Because what's a ducat? Well, we translated that into US dollars, right? And when you do that, you find that a ducat is about 150 US dollars worth of gold. Here's what this says. The Filipino in the upper class was wearing 1.5 to 1.8 million US dollars in gold on their persons, openly and freely in public. Wow. It also tells you the culture didn't have crime. There was very little crime back then. So now, then it says to say nothing of the land, slaves, mines that they own. Now how many of these chiefs are there? Was this just one couple or a few? No. Yeah, the Boxer Codex calls them royals, but the Boxer Codex doesn't understand. They're all over the country. This dynamic is everywhere. Now, here it says, there are so many of these chiefs that they are innumerable. They cannot be numbered. There were thousands. These were the barangay captains. The barangay captains at that time had so much gold that they were wearing all of this gold on their person in public. Wow. Now, at the same time, look at the illustration. They're not wearing shoes. They're barefooted. The Filipino was still humble. Even though they had all of that gold, they were still humble. Because, see, that's instilled in your culture. It's always been there. These things aren't new. Now, so innumerable this class is. So many thousands. Then you have a middle class, and he describes it this way. Likewise, the individual subjects of these chiefs have a great quantity of the said jewels of gold, which they wear on their persons, bracelets, chains, earrings of solid gold, daggers of gold, and other very rich trinkets. And we picked a photo or an illustration from the Boxer Codex here that actually matches pretty well. And, he doesn't have the sacred thread. He doesn't have some of the other things, but still, the middle class had a lot of gold. Why is that? Because this is the land of gold. Gold was everywhere. Then you have the lower class, right? Now check this dude out. This dude has more gold than he has pants, right? So it is amazing that he would wear that much gold and yet no clothes. You know what? Maybe he should try some golden underwear, I think. But anyway, these are generally seen among them, Lavezaris says, and not only the chiefs and free men have plenty of these jewels, but even slaves possess and wear golden trinkets upon their persons openly and freely. Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the land of gold. This is what the land of gold would look like if we could find it. Oh, we did. So we do know what it looked like. Nobody else has this kind of history. This is a valid, documented history. Oh, no, these pieces here that you're seeing in these pictures, they've been found in archaeology. So we know they're real. They're not just drawing fiction. These were real characters. Check this out. A little more history. Antonio de Morga in 1609, he writes, the natives proceed more slowly in this and content themselves with what they already possess in gold or in jewels and gold ingots handed down from antiquity. Where'd they get this from? They got this from Ophir, Sheba, Tarshish. These pieces are handed down from ancient times. They are not new. And they have nothing that can date these, by the way. You can't actually date gold. You can only date it by what you find it with. So if you find it in a pottery jar, you can date the pottery jar. But see, here's the problem. How do you know that that gold wasn't in another pottery jar before that, and 1,000 years before that, and 1,000 years before that? You don't know. There's no way to know. So they don't actually know how old it is. They just know it's old. And this was inherited from their ancestors. This is considerable. This is huge. For he must be poor and wretched who has no gold chains, kalimbigas, and earrings. Wow. The kalimbigas are the armbands, I believe. But anyway, the point is, everybody had gold. Yeah. Where's your gold? Coming. The thing is, the gold is his, right? He says, the gold is mine, the silver is mine, says Yahuwah. So it's for his purposes. DeMorger also writes, about their necks they wear gold necklaces, wrought like spun wax, and with links in our fashion, so like the Spanish gold, some larger than others. On their arms they wear armlets of wrought gold, which they call kalimbigas, and which are very large and made in different patterns. Some wear strings of precious stones, cornelians and agates, and other blue and white stones, which they esteem highly. They wear around their legs even some strings of these precious stones and certain cords, probably the sacred thread. This is what history has always said about Filipinos. How is this possible? And what happened? Well, we know what happened. The Spanish came and they stole all the gold they could, right? Especially that which was on the ground that they didn't have to really mine. They took all that right away. And yet, there's still finds of gold just beneath the surface. Even in Bacolod, they had a large gold rush in the 1980s or so, and they were finding them. It was rice farmers, in some cases, that were finding gold as they dug deeper into the rice fields. So this dynamic remains here in the Philippines, and this is why this is the ancient land of gold. See, South Africa didn't have that. Its gold is deep in the mountains. And that's the dynamic. But check out this video. This is just awesome because, again, these pieces being illustrated have been found in archaeology.
Isuot ang sacred thread para madama ang bigat nito.
Itong tinatawag na sacred thread, ang pinakaimportanteng pyesa ng gold collection ng Ayala Museum. Halos 4 na kilo ang timbang nitong gintong sablay.
Wow. Watch what she does.
Wow. Uy, nakakabigat. Uy, magkakakalo ka nito. Ang bigat.
Imagine how heavy that is. It's solid gold. And, oh, wait a minute. That's exactly what has been pictured, what was illustrated in the Boxer Codex in 1590. Confirmed in archaeology, proven fact. This is the Philippine history. This is what your people wore. Probably the firstborn son, received the sacred thread in the family. That would be the most likely, but that's a guess. But regardless of how it was passed down, it was handed down from antiquity, from your ancestors, because your ancestors had, wore, owned, and worked with gold throughout history. This is not new, and no other culture has this. Now, that's just the sacred thread that you see there, but there's other things. Let's check them out. Look at the necklace. That's called the Shebu collar in Egypt. Oh, wait a minute. Cebu, maybe? Okay. Is that where that originated? Likely. In fact, there's a guy who actually said that he had tested some of the gold found in Egypt from some of the queens and whatnot, and that he believed it to be Philippine gold. Wow. See, gold has a chemical signature, and you can tell those kinds of things. He got blocked. His coffee table book that he put out got taken off the market, especially when we covered that, and even by Banco Central. But hey, whatever. It doesn't matter because this is proven fact. They can't. They can take whatever they want down. We've seen that for so many things. I think the last video, the one before, we showed that clip from NPR from California about the Center of Marine Biodiversity. Do you know we covered that on our channel, and a week later, it disappeared from the internet? Wow. It was gone. Now we still have a copy, so tough luck. We still have it. So anyway, so here you have this necklace. This is the same necklace that's drawn in the Boxer Codex, another match. Look at the dagger handle. When you see its dagger handle, you can see it's golden and it's shaped very similar. Look at that. That's the same piece found in archaeology, proven, and these are rare pieces. These are not something you would expect to find unless it matched the Boxer Codex, unless it matched the ancient Filipino. And it proves that this is the Philippines. The land of gold has always been the Philippines. Then you have, and this is the last one, this is the one I told you is mentioned by Daniel, this belt of fine gold. It's hard to believe they found this thing. Here it is woven, fine pieces of gold woven together intricately. I mean, this is a masterwork when you consider how they did it. And this is from the Philippines, from the Surigao treasure. All of these things were found in the 80s or so in the Surigao treasure, and this is proven fact. So you now have archaeology that proves the land of gold is the Philippines. Wow. Now, let's get to the gist of where we're heading with all this history, and that is, well, what about the three kings? Where did they come from? Well, we know the Catholic legend, which originates, by the way, from more than 500 years after Messiah. So it's not new, right? And it's not accurate. And that one tells us that they're, what are their names? Melchior, Balthazar. Okay. So that was supposedly their names. But see, here's the problem. The Bible doesn't tell you their names. But the Bible tells you where they came from, and it tells you they did not come from Babylon. They did not come from Persia. They did not come from Saudi Arabia. So that legend is fraud. It's completely false, and it goes against the Bible. Psalm 72. David wrote the prophecy of the three kings. Now, he labels 6 or more, but why would it be 3 kings? Luzon, Ophir, Visayas, Sheba, Mindanao, Tarshish. 3 leaders. That's why 3 kings, right? So that's why they call them the 3 kings, and there's nothing wrong with that. And by the way, they are kings, says David. You look at Christmas time every year, you'll hear you hear too from the pulpit, but you'll see all these blogs and different articles from scholars saying, but they weren't kings because Matthew said they were just wise men. Well, kings can be wise men, right? So that doesn't actually tell you that. So they actually have no point. Well, they really have no point because David offered the prophecy of the coming kings that would bring gold, frankincense, and myrrh to Messiah at his birth or shortly after it. And here it is, Psalm 72, verse 10. The kings of Mindanao. That's what it says, because Tarshish is Mindanao. We've shown you map after map that shows that. So, Mindanao, Philippines, and of the isles, which is Ophir, Luzon, Philippines, shall bring presents. The kings of Sheba and Seba shall offer gifts. Sheba is Visayas. So the 3 kings, right there, are the Philippines. They all came from the Philippines. They didn't come from anywhere else. They only came from here. And that's why it took them 2 years. It was a 2-year journey for them to get from the Philippines all the way around Africa to come into the port, probably at Joppa, and then get on, maybe they did ride camels, maybe they didn't. See, the Bible doesn't say they arrived on camels. In fact, the Bible, in the nativity scene, we have this really cool cartoon. We can't play anymore because they won't let us, but it's called Retuning the Nativity. And it talks about the nativity story the way we tell it in church. But what it does is it's telling the story, and as it's telling the story, poof, the elements disappear that are wrong. And by the time you're done, every element disappears until you get down to the Star of Bethlehem. Unfortunately, that should go poof too. It doesn't in the video. But the Star of Bethlehem actually appeared in the Philippines. It appeared in the eastern sky. Herod's astrologers, astronomers didn't see it. The Pharisees didn't see it because they were asked and they knew nothing about it. See, because it appeared in the east sky, and it was an angel, not a star, and they followed that star for 2 years in at least 3 to 4 different directions. So it's not a star. It's an angel. It had to be. So here you go. So they're going to bring gifts. How do we know this is Messiah? It says, yea, all kings shall fall down before him. case closed. That didn't happen to Solomon, and it won't happen to any man. It only happens to Yahusha. All nations shall serve him, for he shall deliver the needy when he crieth. That's Yahusha. That's not Solomon. He didn't care. The poor also, and him that hath no helper. He shall spare the poor and the needy, and shall save the souls of the needy. Well, I get news for Bible scholars. There's only one who can save souls, right? Yeah. This is talking about the birth or close to it of Messiah and no one else. And he's going to be brought the gold of, and it says here, he'll be given of the gold of Sheba. Well, because Sheba is Visayas. It's the Philippines. Prayer also shall be made for him continually, and daily shall he be praised. Wow. So see, folks, the three kings came from the Philippines. They didn't come from occult Babylon. Yahuwah didn't go and tell sorcerers, oh, hey, here's where my son's being born, so you can go kill him. Yeah, that'd be nice. No, not at all. It makes no sense. It never did. Now, this matches, by the way, and this is what's so precious about this. Did you know that the three kings brought gold, frankincense, and myrrh? But see, that has ancient precedence in covenant. If you go all the way back to Adam, what did he offer in the first sacrifice? According to the Cave of Treasures, which is not scripture, but at least a connotation that we can see the resources. After he was exiled from the Garden of Eden, that next day, at sunrise actually, Adam offered gold, frankincense, and myrrh. The three kings brought the same elements from the same land. Because see, Adam offered that in the Philippines. He offered that in Havilah. Now, that's the same, by the way, as the Queen of Sheba, because she brought gold, frankincense, myrrh, also precious stones, but she brought the same thing because she's following the covenant of her land. She knew. See, the Filipino knew. And we're going to get there, and we're going to talk about that too. So this is from the estate of Adam. That's what the gold, frankincense, and myrrh is about. And that's why, yes, it's being returned to this country. Yes, you're finding more of it, and you'll continue to. And it will bless those who bless him. It will serve his purposes. Now, this also matches this really odd ritual or tradition that you have here in the Philippines. Because the center of your Christmas celebration, Christmas is the wrong time of year, but the center of the Christmas celebration here is a great big giant star. The parole, right? Parole. There we go. I said it wrong. Sorry. Okay, so the parole actually fits Scripture because it is the east star. It's the star that appeared in the east sky. See, that's why that's the center. That's why the Christmas tree is not the center. Now, that's rebuked, by the way, in Jeremiah chapter 10. And that's why that's not the center of the celebration. Now, it's the wrong time of year. And here's what we find. What you actually see in the Philippines, you have the longest Christmas celebration in the world. It's so weird. I mean, why? Why so long? So we studied this out a little bit to try to figure out why. The actual birth of Messiah, would have been on Shavuot in June. Now, if you consider that they begin keeping the biblical feasts in Abib, which is basically April, So they would celebrate from really the end of March, early April, all the way through June, and at the end, in June, is the birth of Messiah. It's the same time frame that you're practicing, you're just doing it at a different time of year. See? So it actually has precedence in the biblical feasts and in his actual birthday. He was born in June. He wasn't born in December. Now, watch our When Was Jesus Born series, and you'll find that we prove that there as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, the three kings is really an accurate way to say that. Three kings, and they are kings, came from the Philippines. So when you're singing, right, you don't sing, "We three kings of Orient are." Let's be specific. "We three kings of Philippines are," right? That's what we should be singing. And that's the reality. Now, we prove this out further. We have multiple videos just even on this topic because it is fascinating. And we covered in our book, King Solomon's Treasure, The Search for King Solomon's Treasure, which is available free in ebook, and then also in Tagalog, also free in ebook, and supported by a 300-page source book. We also have Garden of Eden Revealed on this topic, the Book of Maps, which will blow everybody away. We've covered a lot of those maps in the series, and you've seen for yourself. You really should get a copy of that book. And ultimately, all of these things, to restore this history is beautiful. But where this really leads is the restoration of prophecy, and we're going to get there soon in this series. Amen? Don't forget to watch Solomon's Gold series, our breakaway series with millions of views that has the detail, a level of detail. The books have even more. And that's also available in Tagalog as well as the original English. And we want to thank you all for joining us in the studio today in Davao. And always remember, prove all things for yourself. Yah bless to everyone.
And now, it's your turn. Many have asked for a small group study that they can lead themselves in their homes and churches, announcing the Lost Isles of Gold Small Group Study Guide, a 13-week reference that allows you to lead a group of any size. Simply invite friends and family into your home, play this video series once a week, and you can avail of the study guide of each week's questions, free in ebook, or purchase one copy on Amazon or Shopee Philippines, and we release the copyright for you to even photocopy as long as it is made free to attendees. Or contact us for bulk copies in large quantities. Yes, you can even apply the study on Zoom and similar platforms, and even download and play where there is no internet. For pastors, you can execute this in your small groups with this video teaching, or if you wish to teach this information yourself from the pulpit or in a class, contact us for direction, bulk copies, and we will even provide our presentation slides to assist you in doing so as part of the package for any size church, including mega. You can also raise funds by selling our books. The option is also available for many to host the God Culture in a launch in Restore Philippines conference to kick this off. This will ignite your group and equip them to disciple using this monumental revelation. Just email us at thegodculture@gmail.com and go to ophirinstitute.com for instructions and all the links, including the free ebook. It's time for this revelation to go viral throughout the Philippines and the world. This spark is about to explode. Be sure to tell us about your experience. Yah bless.
I saw 3 ships come sailing in.
Did the ships coming sailing in bring gold, frankincense, and myrrh to our Savior? Indeed, they were not on camels, and they offered their gifts by the shipload. Deep in the Vatican archives, a treasure was recently discovered. A document purporting to be written by the Magi themselves has surfaced. These were holy, sagacious kings, yes, kings, who originated in the Far East beyond India, from the land of the Garden of Eden, as David prophesied from Tarshish, Ophir, and Sheba. That was never Persia, Arabia, nor India. Wait till you find out the Apostle Thomas made it to these famed isles. Knowledge is increasing, unraveling the mystery of the three kings, the lost ancient nativity restored. Get your copy today, free in ebook or print worldwide on Amazon or Shopee Philippines. Go to ophirinstitute.com. Find the Garden of Eden and Land of Gold on your coffee mug? Oh yeah. Introducing Map Mugs by The God Culture, a collection of 12 containers featuring some of the most important maps ever created. You know, we did not want to slap our logo on merch and sell it. So, we figured out a way to give our viewers what they've been asking for. Gear that can be used for teaching. When you have friends over, watch them discover the garden and compare their different maps. This should spur a discussion often in which you can share what you have learned. Available in regular 11-ounce white, or get our color morphing mug. Just pour hot water and watch the garden and isles of gold appear, dude! Collect all 12 and make this a ministry with coffee or tea. Just visit thegodculture.com and order yours today. In the beginning, a garden was planted, enclosed within the earth, in the east, the Orient, Far East, says Enoch before the flood, and Noah, who lived there and mapped it in the Philippines. The Bible has always led there, and even Bible historians knew how to read the Hebrew, such as Josephus in 90 AD, Lactantius and African in 310, and in 550, Cosmos, the Greek monk and merchant traveler who went to the Indies, wrote in Alexandria, Egypt, Africa, Christian topography, and he mapped paradise as the Philippines. That map was even published in the Greek edition of the Bible at one time. A 6,000-year track record, forgotten today by illiterate scholars. They have no education on this topic. Let us explore this massive trove of ancient maps. Israel is not east, and a spring is a spring, not a river, and must be fed by a mega river as its source, and must connect to 3 other heads as well, all rivers, and actually salt water even. Can they read? Africa is not east, nor in Shem's far east, where the garden has always resided. Mesopotamia is the occult creation myth of the Nephilim. Nice, scholars. Modern rivers from rain did not even exist before the flood, and the Bible never uses the word Tigris ever in the original Hebrew. Why do modern scholars have no clue when the evidence is so vast? The Garden of Eden revealed, resolving the 6,000-year testimony marking the Far East. Now available in print only, no ebook, on Amazon and Shopee Philippines. Over 75 high-resolution color historic maps with accurate interpretation no one can truly dispute. Get your book now, and a new series begins.